Okay guys, here we go. Angle of elevation and depression and finding the angle. In other words, the inverse trig using trigonometry. Okay, so if we take a look here, angle of elevation means you're looking up. So the angle of elevation, when looking up to an object, the angle of elevation is formed by an observer's line of sight and a horizontal line. So you can see here where the angle of elevation is done. So let's take a look here. We've got an angle of elevation from a kicker's foot on a football. And so we've got a dude. Here's the football player. Let's give him long hair. Blue eyes. Okay, so here's the kicker. And so he's got a football. Here's the football. And it says that from a kicker's foot on the football field to the top of the goal post. So the goal post is right here. So from here to here is 17 degrees. So this is 17 degrees. That means from the ground. If he stands 131 feet from the base, so this is 131 feet from the base of the goalpost. How tall is the goalpost? So we obviously want to know how tall this is. So in this case, we would set up our equation, and what we're looking at is, it looks like we are looking at tangent. So the tangent of 17 degrees, because this is adjacent and this is opposite, would be opposite over adjacent. Cross multiply, we get 131 tangent of 17 degrees is equal to x, and your final answer should be x is equal to 40.1 feet. Okay, that's angle of elevation. Now, angle of depression. When looking down to an object, the angle of depression is formed by an observer's line of sight and a horizontal line. The angle of depression is congruent to the angle of elevation because of their alternate interior angles. So if you look, this one and this one are parallel, and these are alternate interior angles. Okay, so let's go through this next problem. So this time, a pilot in a helicopter. So I need a helicopter. Let's see. That's not a very good helicopter, but whatever. Okay, so a pilot in a helicopter spots a landing pad below. So what you need to know is that the pilot is looking straight ahead, and then what he does is he sees a landing pad below. So we're going to make this our landing pad. So when he spots that landing pad below, it says the angle of depression is 73 degrees, and the horizontal distance to the pad is 1200, which means this here is 1200, which also means that from here to here is 1200. So really what you kind of have is like a rectangle. So if the bottom's 1200, the top's 1200. The distance the pad is 1200. What is the altitude of the helicopter? So this is what we're looking for. So this right here is 90 degrees. So if this is 73, this is 73. So you can go with either one, but if we want to find the altitude of that, what we need to think about is what trig function are we using? So we have adjacent, we want the opposite. So once again, we're doing the tangent of our angle is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. And so now we will multiply 1200 times the tangent of 73 degrees, and that will be equal to x. Therefore, my x is going to be equal to 3,925 feet. Okay, let's move on. So now, inverse trig function. So the other stuff you've already done, that's just modeling, and it is draw yourself a picture. It makes things so much easier. The inverse trig is something a little different. And so what I want to do is I want to pull your attention to this right here. So whenever you have that little -1, it relates to your sine and cosine, but when you use the -1, that little -1, it means inverse. And the inverse means I'm looking for the angle. So I'm going to set this up in the exact same way that we have always set it up. So if you look, we are referring to this angle right here, and we are given the opposite and the hypotenuse, which means the opposite hypotenuse would mean the sine of our angle would equal to our opposite over our hypotenuse. So because we are looking for the angle, we need to use the inverse sign. So x would be equal to the inverse sine of 15 over 25. And what that is it's on your calculator. You just look in your calculator and you look for the inverse sign and you put it in exactly like that. And for this one, what you should get, oops, just saw a mistake real quick. This is not 25, it's 24. And when you plug it into the calculator exactly like that, you get 38.7. That is your degrees. That's how you find the degrees. So let's move on to the next one. And we'll just do this one in red. Why not? So here we need to think about what we're given. Again, we are referring to this angle. So it looks like we have the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So adjacent hypotenuse is the cosine of our angle is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Again, if you're looking for the angle, that means we need to use the cosine inverse of 8 over 11. And you plug it in the calculator exactly like that. And when you do, you get x equals 43.3 degrees. So that's what that is. Okay, let's go to this last one. And this last one, we are referring to this angle. And this time we're given the opposite and the adjacent. Opposite adjacent is tangent. So the tangent of x is going to be equal to 20 over 37. And we're again looking for the angle. So x is equal to the tangent inverse of 20 over 37. Plug it in the calculator exactly like that. And x equals 28.4 degrees. Okay, I want to do, one other thing is you can call it sine inverse. In some places they call it arc sine or the arc cosine or the arc tangent. They're all the exact same thing. That's the inverse sine and the arc sine are the exact same thing. Okay, last problem, and I just wanted us to go through this so we can just take a look at this. It says a dog is standing 5 feet from the base of a tree. Okay, so we're going to draw a tree. And then we're going to draw a little puppy dog. So here's my dog. He's going to have a big tail. Here's his snout. And let's see, he's standing at the base of the tree. The dog is standing 5 feet from the base of the tree. That means from here to here is 5 feet. What is the angle of elevation from the point the dog is standing on the ground to the cat? So apparently there's a cat in the tree. He's looking up at the cat in the tree. So here's our kitty cat that's just sitting here. And so we want to know from here to here, how much is that? Okay, and let's see, he has climbed 16 feet into the tree. Okay, so let's solve it. So we are going to use, this is 90 degrees, we have opposite and adjacent. So this time we're going to use the tangent of x, because that's what we're trying to figure out, is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. And so x is equal to, because we're looking for the angle, we're going to do the inverse. Plug it in the calculator exactly like that, and you end up with x equals 72.6 degrees, and that's your angle. All right, guys, I'm done. Good luck.